Hello, welcome. We are in the time of winter, officially starting yesterday, December 21st. As you know, December 21st, 2020, we had the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius. So hopefully many of you were able to see it either online or were able to go outside. I took a walk outside, and even though I'm up in the mountains, I'm in the valley portion of where I live. So I could see the moon, and I could see on my app the southwest position of where Saturn and Jupiter are supposed to be conjoining their placement. And it's just right on the other side, and it's been really chilly this night. And I figured, you know what, I'll see it on TV, I'll see the conjunction, and it's taking place. That's all what matters. So hopefully you're able to experience it. We moved also into the sign of Capricorn, the cardinal earth sign, and it's actually the last earth sign for this year. We are done. And then it holds place, Capricorn holds place until we enter January 20th, and it moves into the sign of Aquarius. So with Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, it's going to be there for a while, and moving into Aquarius, a lot of people are looking towards what's going to happen next year. And I'll discuss a little bit about this, but not too much. My focus is going to be on our first decan for the month of Capricorn, 0 to 10 degrees. And as I normally do, I feature a guiding deck, a guiding card from a particular deck, and then I use 2 to 3 decks that have different visuals in relation to the minor arcana card of guidance. So with each decan, each assigned decan, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, those decans represent, those 3 decans represent an astrological month. And they fluctuate more or less around 7 to 10 days. Normally 10 days, a decan means 10. And each decan, there's a planetary shift. So depending on what system you use, right now I'm working with the Unified Esoteric Tarot by Attila Blaga. And I'm using that as a guide because it is different from the Golden Dawn astrological correspondences, where normally this time of the year, it is placed in a different planet. The sign stays the same throughout the decans. It's just the planets that change every decan. 0 to 10, we'll have one planet. 10 to 20, we'll have another planet of influence for that astrological sign. So we have a few things going on because we have just entered the winter solstice. So I'm going to show you, it's nothing too big, but I just want to give guidance. The Unified Esoteric Tarot, here is the card that represents the seasonal change. And it represents the Ace of Discs. Now, aces can be seen depending on your practice. Aces can be seen as seasonal changes. So discs represent the season of winter. And then when we go into spring, we're going to go into the Ace of Wands. And then Ace of Cups goes into summer. Then Ace of Swords, we go into fall. And then the cycle continues. So here I'm going to talk about, just very briefly, about the aces. Aces, as we know, represent beginnings, initiations. And aces, when there's a seasonal shift, like winter, spring, summer, fall, the sign that welcomes that season is a cardinal sign. So we're in Capricorn. Capricorn, Aries. I'm forgetting one. Capricorn, Aries, And, oh, I can't think of the other two cardinal signs right now. Libra and, oh, I'm missing one other one. I'm drawing a blank. Anyhow, there's 4 cardinal signs to represent our seasonal changes. And they fall into each suit. So here we have the discs to represent Capricorn, Wands, Ace of Wands for Aries to represent the fire aspect. Ace of Discs is Earth. Ace of Cups, Cancer. Cancer is the other cardinal sign. Ace of Cups initiates the beginning of summer. And then Ace of Swords, Libra, represents our fall season and the beginning, the initiating energy that goes into that season. So here, with the Ace of Discs, we are in the winter months. This is a time where we start, and I mentioned this in my previous video, as we enter the winter season, this is a time, actually, not so much for reflection, because that was during the period of the fall season. The fall season is when we're waning with our light. We're getting less light. From here until we start getting to January, our days are going to get longer. They're not going to be immediately apparent, but in the days to come, weeks to come, we're gaining a minute or two. I know it's no big deal of light. And so by the time we go into January, probably around 5 o'clock, we'll start seeing day, because usually by the time it's almost 4:30, sun has set in many places. So now we're going to get more light. So with the winter solstice, we're welcoming in light. So this is a time, our fall season was a time of retrospective, looking back within ourselves as well, and just seeing how things have been. Now we take that energy and the experiences that we learned from that fall season, and now we start thinking about the changes. What did we learn during the last 3 months of fall? What things do we want to let go of? And then we start initiating. We start planting the seeds. Sorry, my cat's right behind my laptop. We start planting the seeds of change. We put that energy towards it. We don't create the action yet. We're just setting the intention. Then comes spring, when we move into the season of Aries, and the fiery energy. That's when we start, moving that energy, and we start vitalizing it and putting it into life. We start shaping it. But for now, we take the experience that we had in the last few months, and now we set a plan. We start putting structure. And again, Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn. And Saturn is discipline, limitations, restrictions, karmic action. Take responsibility for your actions. Dealing with things that have come up from the past and working through it. For a lot of people, Saturn is a difficult sign, to deal with personal challenges and getting past it. If you can get past it, all those challenges and all those limitations, you become stronger. Saturn is as challenging as it could be for many people, is a sign that gives you backbone. And coming to understand and being honest with yourself of what needs to be shifted, what needs to be let go of. So again, here, for winter, we have your opportunities. Let's start creating the opportunities. Here we have a barren tree. So here's the soil, the roots, and then the tree. So we're at this state here. We're at the bottom. We're starting to initiate what we want to make change. And then when we go into the next season of spring, we're going to see a shift. There's 4 cards for each season from this deck, and we're going to see this image change as we go through the seasons. So for the Ace of Discs, it's just initiating growth. Putting that energy, putting energy into abundance and prosperity. What do we want to see fulfilled? And and start laying the groundwork. Start putting that structure into it. Now let's start putting focus on those opportunities. Okay, so with that being said, the Unified Esoteric Tarot, we have our first Decan, or Capricorn. And it starts today, December 22nd, goes into January 1st. And I've already broken a little bit of ground about Saturn and its relationship in Capricorn. Saturn is the planet that rules Capricorn. Capricorn is very comfortable with Saturn. It's full of, as I mentioned, it has the discipline, the restrictions. Your focus is on responsibility, very goal-oriented, very ambitious. And Saturn gives that foundation for Capricorn, that stability and that discipline, to have a platform to initiate the actions that are needed for anyone in Capricorn, moon, rising, its placement in certain houses, to really get that focus, and do things in that controlled, I should say, manner, so that everything is organized and everything has a set direction. It does hold rulership. There we go. In the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career. And it's of fame and of reputation. So I actually have my 10th house in Capricorn, which is interesting. And I feel these characteristics of Capricorn in the way that I apply into my work. If I find something that I'm really in love with, passionate about, driven, I will put all that work into it. And that's what I'm doing here with my practice. I'm exploring, I'm putting in a little bit of Sagittarian energy from last month and exploring the different aspects of what I've been practicing the last few months. Now I'm taking that Capricorn energy, fine-tuning it and focusing it on a specific thing. I'm dabbling with a little bit of everything, which is fine, but I really need to stay focused on one thing. Find that one thing that you feel strongly about and stay on that. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm getting close. So the month of Capricorn is going to be very inspirational and a strong guide for me to help me get everything structured and create content that's focused more on specific things instead of a little bit of here, a little bit of that. So I'm really looking forward to this. So yeah, when it's Capricorn is in that house in the 10th house, and you have that Saturn discipline. There's also a sense of, reputation. You want to put out information. You want to show your skills. You want to, if you get called out on something, you have to be prepared to answer, and take that responsibility as to why things went the way they did, whether good or bad. And it's also a time of being humble. If something didn't go the way it did and you get called out on it, swallow that and just, take the criticism and learn from it. There's constructive criticism and then there's just bad criticism where it's just insulting. That doesn't work. We want to get feedback where the guidance that we're getting can further empower us and take us in a direction that will help us grow with what we're trying to figure out. So this is really a good time for work, and focusing on those goals. So I welcome Capricorn in a great way. So going back to our first Decan, this holds about intention, setting the intention, similar to the Ace of Discs. We are beginning, as I mentioned, the new season of winter. So again, really write down, set a game plan. Do a layout of what you want. Start from what you have right now. Again, what you want to get rid of, and find things that will, support, create an infrastructure that will place what you want to work and make it stronger. You want to build a solid foundation. You have to do the workout, do the muscle work for the efforts that you're trying to achieve and be successful at. So that's all with discipline, as we have here. And the opposite of discipline is when we get called out, being held accountable, culpability for this card. So we have here the card of influence for our decans, for each decan. We're going to be 2, 3, and 4 for the next 2 decans. 10 to 20 degrees will be with the 3 of Pentacles, and then 20 to 30 will be with the 4 of Pentacles. I haven't looked far in advance for the planets, and I think it's just best that way, so I don't go over top with my with all the information that I have. But the 2, 3, 4 discs is showing the journey that Capricorn will be going through its astrological month. So apply what I will be sharing here with you with the 2 of discs during those 10 days. And I'm pointing this out when I do all of my decan readings. These are fixed. The planet influence and the sign that it's in, the sign's obviously fixed because it's in Capricorn. But as the planets change, I need to emphasize that this is not the current astrological placement. Okay, as I mentioned, Saturn is in Aquarius. And so what you can do is you could take the influence of Saturn and Capricorn, of this card, of this decan, and look into the qualities of Aquarius when it's placed in Saturn. And actually, Saturn in Aquarius is a nice placement for Aquarius because, again, it gives the structure to the ideas, to the direction that Aquarians like to live their life by. They also like unexpected. They like to do unexpected things. They like to change the direction of things, sometimes very last minute, unexpectedly. But at the same time, those changes, as they start forming and manifesting, actually work out. You're thinking, why is this person doing all these changes? What's going on? This makes no sense. But there's the term method to the madness. And I'm not going to say that's a perfect term for Aquarians, but they have that the crazy mind idea of getting things done in a certain way. They're very unconventional. So a lot of people may not understand what they're doing, but once it comes to fruition, it's just like, wow. And you start seeing the brilliance in it, very eccentric, the way they like to approach things. So you can use that energy, Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn, going slightly off topic for Aquarius, Saturn gives that structure, gives that rigidity. And Aquarius is an air sign, so air signs, they need that containment so that they can focus and stay on the direction of their goals and what they want to attain. Okay, so the 2 of discs, I have 2 sets of cards. I have my notes here. The Two of Discs, or Two of Pentacles, is just a reminder of maintaining balance while we're juggling and doing other forms of responsibility. With the Two of Pentacles, and I'll show you the cards that I have here in a moment, is a card, even though it's maintaining balance and trying to get harmony, it's also choices. You could be doing the same thing over and over again. And the patterns there. We're juggling home life, career, family, personal life, so on and so forth. You're juggling that. And if you're content with that, that's fine. But at some point, there's going to be a shift in those areas that you are balancing. And so when that shift comes in, you have to be prepared to take that time and make the decision to address it, or to stop, take care of the situation, and then change in such a way. In other words, change the direction of that particular issue that you've been working with for such a long time. And in doing so, by changing that, shifting the energy, the momentum, will allow a personal growth with you, because you're changing that perspective of things that you have been doing over and over and over again. So that's the general premise of Two of Pentacles. There are different perspectives, but for me, I feel that is the best interpretation. Is, it's okay to balance all of that, to do all these, hold all these responsibilities, but when that change comes, how are you going to address it? Are you going to just leave it like it is and just keep moving, keep it going, or are you going to create that shift so that there's growth within yourself and in that situation? So the two cards that I have here, I'm going to show them together and then break them down individually. This one here is the Tarot of the Holy Light, which is what I've normally been featuring when I do my Decan readings. And this is for the Two of Discs. Astrologically, it is placed differently. It's seen as Venus in Capricorn. But, and then here is the Lamino Tarot, Two of Pentacles. But my focus here is just on the Two of Discs, Two of Pentacles, and not so much the astrological placement. As I mentioned, there are other decks that I have that have different interpretations astrologically. And I don't want to go too sidetracked on it, because I have Venus in Capricorn, and then here we're talking about Saturn in Capricorn, and I just want to focus more on the meanings of the two of Discs. So let's start here with the Minor Arcana. Okay, so again, this is going for the week of December 22nd today to January 1st of 2021. We take the energy of Saturn in Capricorn. And as I mentioned, the Two of Pentacles involves creating harmony. But what's interesting here is I want to compare and contrast the different visuals and interpretations from different decks, and that's what I've been doing for the last few months with the readings. So the Tarot of the Holy Light here is asking us to be patient and create the space while dealing with different circumstances. Things are shifting. I mean, we see here, this is just a beautiful representation of the planetary movements, ebb and flow. From full moon to new moon, as the moon waxes and then as it wanes, it goes on and on. There's constant movement here. And we have the solar energy of this movement. And it's cyclical. Everything goes into another. It's almost like a nautilus shell that we're looking at here. and the constant movement. And we have the contrasting energies of sun and the moon. And things are shifting at this time when you get the Two of Pentacles. Things are shifting. And there's a bit of uncertainty because we're not certain where the direction is going. But you have to put trust and faith and just let the energy move the way it has to move, the way it's naturally intended. So if we're dealing with a whole bunch of different situations, energy-wise, family, relationships, so on and so forth, in a way, even though this is Capricorn and Saturn has that influence of responsibility and taking direct action, in this case, it's telling us to kind of give some space, let the control go a little bit. And as we know with fire, air needs to fuel the fire. If you put too much, if you smother the fire, like if you take away the oxygen, obviously it's going to extinguish. But here we're just seeing creating space with the movement, letting the energy move naturally. There's going to be ups and downs, but again, just trust that the chaos will move into order, which it always does. How it's going to do it, when it's going to do it, we don't know. But we just put trust that as things shift, let it go naturally. Let it run its course. Don't put too much control on it. So we're kind of easing up a little bit with the restrictions with the influence of Saturn in Capricorn. Excuse me. And then next we have with the Lamino Tarot. This is a very pip-oriented deck, and we see the Pentacles here, and very similar. We're seeing the pattern, the cyclical movement of harmony, and we're seeing growth. Because we're letting it move naturally. We're not holding it back. We're not banking it up, building a wall. The energy is moving naturally. And so, and here, with the Lamino Tarot, we are seeing a harmony with things that are happening externally, but also internally. How we are dealing with things in the outside realm, and how we are internalizing it. And creating that ease so that any stiffness, any difficulties, challenges that are coming out externally, we're able to internalize it and to kind of work through it easily. It's also just being patient with the movement. We work with the energies, whether they are connecting or not. We have to keep the movement going, which is very important. But of course, if something feels out of balance, we take that moment to just pause and just look at everything, like I was saying with the general overview of Two of Pentacles. Just look and see what's going on. Why is the energy shifting off a little bit this way, going up, down, left, right, going opposite directions? And just investigate it and see what you can do to shift it. You want to create balance. Throughout the suit of Pentacles, that's the whole journey, from the aces to the 10. We're starting to see growth. There's always going to be challenges in all the suits, but it is how we apply our perspective and our actions into the journey of these suits. What choices are we going to make? Which path are we going to take? So if something is amiss, energy-wise, this could be a sign that it's time to just change that direction. And again, give the space, take that moment to step outside and look at how things are moving about. It's the best form of harmony that is being created, so that what the harmony you have within, you can expel it and share it in the external realm. So these are beautiful forms of the two, of the Two of Pentacles, Two of Discs, and showing the structure. But again, the key with the Two of Pentacles, Two of Coins, Two of Discs is working with the energy that we are currently experiencing and giving it the space, not putting too much control in it. Because obviously when you're balancing, there is a focus, there is a discipline. You know, you've gotten to that point where you're able to balance all of this. But again, with one of the situations that you are working with goes a little bit off kilter, you have to be prepared to take care of it. And that's where the influence of Saturn comes in. You know, how are you going to approach it? You know, put in that discipline, that focus that's needed to really see through those changes. And then once you build that understanding, you're back to that harmony, and everything feels right. Everything starts going into a nice, smooth rhythm. And that's what this card, the Two of Pentacles, is about: creating a nice flow, but facing the challenges that come in along the way. So again, we have discipline to introduce our first week into Capricorn. Apply that energy. In the winter solstice, new beginnings, new perspectives, planting those seeds, creating those opportunities. And then again with the Two of Discs, I just love this card the more I see it. Working with natural harmony of life and facing those challenges, ebbs and flows, wax and wanes. And this applies externally and internally, consciously and subconsciously. So that's our overview for our 0 to 10 degrees Decan for the week of December 22nd to January 1st, the month of Capricorn. And hold these energies. Even though you may not have Capricorn, if you don't have Capricorn as an influence in your chart, you can still harness those energies as forms of influences. They're guides. So even though, again, if you look at your chart and you're missing more of one element and more of another, bring in that other element. If you have less air and everything's fire, earth, maybe a little bit of water, but there's no air, bring in that influence of air. Air rules the thought process, the intellect. And since we're entering into Aquarius after Capricorn, and we already have Saturn and Jupiter and Saturn are actually opposing planets energy-wise. Saturn is contracting, it's holding in. Jupiter is expansive, which we just came out of with Sagittarius. So this conjunction too gives a moment of peace between these two signs, and a moment of contemplation of these two opposing energies. And then as they start moving on, they'll go back and they'll do their work. So it's Aquarius will be a good sign for, I feel, many of us. For those who have a lot of Aquarius or air influence in their charts. I have no Aquarius, but I find when I go into each sign, regardless if I have that sign of influence in my chart, or if I don't have that particular sign in my chart, and we're in that astrological month, I still pull that energy. I still use it as a form of meditation. You know, it's like, okay, Capricorn, as I mentioned, it's in my 10th house, the house of career, and it's perfectly placed. And so during this month of Capricorn, that's where I want to harness that energy and like I mentioned, put structure into things and work it so that it becomes successful down the line. And then Aquarius, you know, it's a fixed sign, and using that as a guide as to how to deal with, you know, being a little bit more open, but having structure with my thought process and ideas. And I have some wild ideas. So maybe during the month of Aquarius, I can, you know, make that happen, but make it so that it makes sense, you know? So it's not something that I just throw out there and just like, okay, that's my idea. You know, some people may get it, some people may not. You don't want to do that. You want to watch what you put out and how it's going. So we will see. All righty. Have a wonderful week. And I will be back January, let's see, I said the 1st. The 2nd, I will try to get this out. I am scheduled to have a post, a live post on the weekend of January 2nd on YouTube. So I may have to hold that back, or maybe here's my challenge for Capricorn. Let me see if I could get this done early, the next Decan, and then I have it ready for you for January 2nd. And then we will be into the 3 of discs, if you want to jump ahead and look into that. So again, take this energy of Capricorn and Saturn to your best interest. And if you have any questions, you know where to reach me. And you can go to my website, and I will be back again with another video. I have something planned that I will share for next week. But until then, everyone, you have a wonderful day, evening, and be safe.